Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Ready to jump into some pretty cutting-edge AI stuff?
Always up for it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So today we're going to really get into multimodal language models.
Multimodal, yeah, that's the keyword these days, it seems.
For sure. But this one is particularly interesting. It's called Spirit LM. And you can probably guess from the name, it's all about blending speech and text, right?
Right, and we've got some excerpts from the actual research paper here, so we're going straight to the source.
Awesome. Lay it on us. What's the big idea here?
Well, imagine an AI that can understand you, like really get what you mean, whether you're talking or typing.
Yeah, I'm listening.
And get this, it can respond the same way. So it can talk back or give you text, whichever works. That's what they're going for with Spirit LM.
So no more separate worlds for like speech recognition and all that. It's all just language.
Exactly. And it can even do things like translation or figure out what you're trying to do.
Intent classification, yeah.
Exactly. All with just a few examples. It's amazing.
So we're getting close to that sci-fi dream of AI that just gets us no matter how we communicate.
It really seems that way, doesn't it? This paper dives into the nitty-gritty, showing how Spirit LM takes the Llama 2 model and builds on it.
Llama 2, that's a pretty big deal in the language model world, right?
Huge. Everyone's using it as a base these days.
So how do they actually bring speech into the mix, like technically?
Well, it's a new training method they call interleaving. Basically, imagine weaving together bits of speech and text while the model is learning.
Interesting. So it's not just saying, okay, this sound means this word. It's learning the deeper connections.
Precisely. It's about understanding the relationship between what we say and how we write it.
Gotcha. And they actually made two versions of this model, right?
Yeah, they have Spirit LM Base, which uses these phonetic units, kind of like breaking speech down into sound building blocks.
Makes sense. And the other one?
Spirit LM Expressive, that's where things get really cool.
I bet. What's so expressive about it?
It adds in these units for pitch and style, so it's not just what you say, but how you say it.
Emotion, tone, all that.
Exactly. Capturing the nuances of human speech.
Okay, now I see why they call it expressive. So what can this thing actually do? I mean, does it like pass the Turing test or something?
Well, maybe not that advanced yet, but the paper gives some great examples. Check out table 1. It can generate text from what you say, and the other way around too. Speech to text, text to speech, it does it all.
So basically those tasks we see AI doing all the time, but like way better.
Yeah, think of it like supercharged versions of those things. But what really sets Spirit LM apart is this ability to learn new tricks. You can basically give it a few examples and it picks up on what you want it to do.
Really? Like how few?
They have some amazing results in section 4.3, table 5 for intent classification, which is where the model figures out what you're trying to achieve with your words.
That's wild. It's almost like teaching it, you know?
Exactly. And the possibilities there are huge because you can adapt the model to specific tasks or areas of expertise. It's not just a one-size-fits-all thing.
This is going way beyond like your average chatbot. We're talking AI that starts to get the nuances of human communication.
Absolutely.
Okay, but let's break down this whole expressivity thing a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
How does Spirit LM, especially the expressive version, actually capture that feeling behind words?
Well, it analyzes how you're speaking. So the pitch of your voice, which they get from looking at the frequency, and also these higher level features of your speech that indicate style.
So it breaks down your voice like scientifically.
In a way, yes. And this helps it understand the emotion you're conveying.
So like if I'm sarcastic, it'll pick up on that.
That's the goal. They even made a new benchmark to test this specifically called speech-text sentiment preservation, STSP for short.
Catchy. So how does Spirit LM do on that?
Really well, actually, especially the expressive version. See section 5.2 and table 3 in the paper. It shows it can keep the emotional tone consistent even when switching between speech and text.
Wow. So this isn't just about understanding the words. It's understanding the feeling behind them. That's huge.
It really is. It could revolutionize how we interact with AI if it can really pick up on those subtle cues.
For sure. And I bet there are tons of ethical implications too, right? If AI can start to understand our emotions, that's a whole other ballgame.
Absolutely. It's something to keep in mind as this technology develops. But for now, it's just incredibly exciting to see what Spirit LM can already do.
It's mind-blowing. So this is definitely early research, right? But it feels like we're peeking into the future of AI here.
It does, doesn't it? A future where speech and text aren't these separate things, but just different ways of expressing ourselves, and AI gets it all.
I'm ready for that future. But I guess it wouldn't be the deep dive if we didn't get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
So are there any like limitations or challenges they mentioned?
Of course, nothing's perfect. One thing they point out is that Spirit LM's performance with just text, like when it's not dealing with speech at all, is actually a bit worse than the original LO2 model.
Interesting. So it's like trading off some text skill for this whole new multimodal ability.
In a sense, yeah. And handling different accents and languages is still a hurdle.
Makes sense. That's got to be tough.
And they also suggest that making the model even bigger, it currently has 7 billion parameters. You know, that could lead to even better results.
So there's still a lot of room for improvement.
Absolutely. But the potential is undeniable.
Well, folks, there you have it. Spirit LM, a glimpse into a future where AI understands us no matter how we choose to express ourselves.
And that's just the beginning. We're going to keep diving deeper into the paper in the next part of our show, so stick around.
Can't wait. We'll be back after a quick break.
It's like opening up a whole new world of communication, right?
No kidding. I mean, the paper even talks about using this for real-time translation.
Yeah. Can you imagine just talking to someone in, like, Mandarin and having it translated instantly?
Both as text and e-speech, right?
Yeah.
That's wild. And not just the words, but like keeping your tone, your emotion.
Exactly. Bridging that gap, not just in language, but in feeling, too. That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And think about what it could do for creative writing.
Okay, now you're talking my language. Like, I could just ramble on about a story idea, and Spirit LM would turn it into a novel.
Something like that, yeah. Or a screenplay, a poem, whatever you want. It could capture your style, you know?
Man, that would make writer's block a thing of the past.
Maybe. But the potential is there. It's really about human creativity, but amplified by AI. This paper gets pretty deep into the technical side, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I was skimming that part. Lots of talk about transformer networks and self-attention and stuff.
Right. That's the engine under the hood, so to speak. It's how Spirit LM can juggle both speech and text so effectively.
I gotta admit, some of that went over my head.
Fair enough. It's dense stuff. But the key takeaway is it's all about these different components working together to create a rich understanding of language. Section 3 of the paper goes into all the details if you're feeling brave.
Maybe later. One thing that did catch my eye was this idea of a shared embedding space for speech and text.
Ah, yes. That's crucial. Basically, it means that both speech and text are represented in the same way, mathematically speaking, like they exist in the same conceptual space.
So the model doesn't see them as separate things, but as different aspects of the same thing.
Precisely. Two sides of the same coin, two ways of expressing meaning. That's a big departure from how language models used to work.
Makes sense. It's getting closer to how our brains work, right? We don't think in separate boxes for speech and text.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of this approach. It's a more holistic view of language.
They also talk a lot about data augmentation, like messing with the speech data to make the model more robust.
Yeah, that's a common technique these days. Things like changing the speed of the speech, adding noise, that kind of thing.
I guess that's because in real life, we don't always talk in perfectly clear studio quality audio.
Right. We have accents, we mumble, there's background noise. So by training Spirit LM on this messy real-world data...
It learns to handle anything we throw at it.
Exactly. It makes it way more adaptable and, let's say, ready for prime time.
Oh, I like it. And they did all the usual testing too, right? To see how well Spirit LM actually performed.
Oh, yeah. They went all out. Word error rate for speech recognition, BLEU scores for translation, all the standard stuff.
But they also had that new metric they invented, right? The STSP.
Yep, to measure how well the model keeps the emotional tone consistent. And the results were really impressive. Got to give them credit for that.
So all in all, Spirit LM seems to be pretty darn good at what it does.
It's a real achievement, no doubt.
Yeah.
But as always, there are some caveats.
Oh, I bet. Every breakthrough has its limitations.
One thing they highlight is computational efficiency. These large language models are resource-hungry beasts.
Yeah, training them takes massive amounts of computing power. And even running them isn't cheap.
Right, so finding ways to make them more efficient is crucial.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about different languages and accents? Did they crack that nut?
Not completely. That's still a work in progress. Expanding to cover the full diversity of human language, that's the next frontier.
Okay, big challenge, but also a huge opportunity, right? Imagine if this could work for any language, any accent.
The possibilities are mind-boggling.
Right.
But it's not just about technical challenges either. There are ethical considerations as well.
Yeah, we can't just ignore those. We've talked about this before, right? Powerful technology needs responsible handling.
Exactly. We need to be thinking about potential biases, how to prevent misuse, making sure these models are used for good.
Transparency is key too, right? Understanding how these models work so we can trust them. Make sure they're aligned with our values.
Absolutely. It's a collaborative effort, you know? Researchers, developers, policymakers, everyone needs to be involved in shaping this future.
So while Spirit LM is exciting, it also comes with a big dose of responsibility.
Right. It's a reminder that as we push the boundaries of AI, we need to do it thoughtfully, ethically, and with the big picture in mind. It's not just about building cool tech. It's about building a better future. And that takes more than just algorithms.
Well said. Okay, folks, we've covered a lot of ground here. Spirit LM is a game changer, no doubt about it. But it's just the beginning of a much larger conversation about the future of AI and its role in our lives.
And that conversation is just getting started. We've got a lot more to discuss, so stick around for the final part of our deep dive. We'll be back after a quick message from our sponsors.
Okay, so we've seen what Spirit LM can do, all the technical stuff. But what does it all mean for, like, the average person? How is this going to change our lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Right now, interacting with technology can be pretty clunky. We're typing, tapping, yelling at our voice assistants.
Don't forget those frustrating phone menus. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that.
Exactly. Spirit LM hints at a future where all that disappears, where talking to your computer is as natural as talking to a friend.
So no more struggling to find the right button or command. Just say what you want, and the AI gets it.
That's the idea. Seamless, intuitive interaction. Think about language barriers, too. Imagine traveling to any country and having a real conversation with anyone, regardless of their language.
No more awkward hand gestures and pointing at things.
Gone. Instant translation, with all the nuances of human speech preserved. And it's not just about practical stuff, either. Imagine the impact on, say, education. Kids could learn from anywhere in the world, from the best teachers, regardless of language.
That's powerful stuff. And it goes beyond education, right? Entertainment, healthcare, every aspect of our lives could be transformed.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental shift in how we interact with the world around us. But of course, with great power comes great responsibility, as they say.
Here come the ethical dilemmas, right? If AI can understand us so well, do we need to treat it differently?
It's a valid question. As AI gets closer to human-level communication, it blurs the lines. Do we owe it a certain level of respect, even if it's not technically alive?
And what about the potential for misuse? Deepfakes are already a problem. Imagine AI that can perfectly mimic anyone's voice, anyone's writing style.
It's a scary thought. That's why the ethical side of this research is so important. We need to be thinking about safeguards, regulations, ways to prevent this technology from being used for harm.
Transparency is key too, right? Knowing how these models work so we can trust them, understand their limitations.
Absolutely. Openness and collaboration are crucial here. We need researchers, developers, policymakers, everyone working together to make sure this technology benefits humanity as a whole.
So Spirit LM is more than just a cool new AI model. It's a glimpse into a future that's full of potential, but also full of challenges.
And it's a future we need to be prepared for. This research is a wake-up call, in a way, urging us to think deeply about the role of AI in our lives and how we want to shape that relationship. Because AI is here to stay, and it's only going to get more powerful.
Well said. It's been an amazing deep dive, folks. Spirit LM is truly groundbreaking stuff, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible with AI.
It's a reminder that the future is full of surprises, both good and bad. But by staying informed, engaging in these conversations, we can help steer that future in the right direction.
Couldn't agree more. And that's what the deep dive is all about. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking the big questions. Thanks for joining us.